Welcome back to Church and State with Dave Pellowe. I'm sitting down with Judi Taylor and we're talking about the death of Judi's son, Lucas, who died of assisted suicide, although the coroner is disturbingly only listed it as a suicide, which is hiding the fact and the statistic that there's a great deal of involvement professionally of people in Australia with other people's deaths, and that's against the law. Judi, you've had your son's body discovered by the gardener.
Yes.
Nearly 2 months after he died. Tell me what happened next. How was the body brought home?
Well, it wasn't. We had him cremated in Germany.
Okay. Did you guys go across there at all?
No.
So you haven't been there at all? That must be excruciatingly difficult. I imagine that the financial prospect of taking everybody over there and back.
Well, that's right, yeah.
Just for a funeral is... Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. What happened next? How long did you sit on this before you decided you needed to speak about it?
2 years.
Wow.
2 years. I think in that first year, I was sort of waiting naively for the police to knock on the door and say, we've come to investigate this. This is an outrage. You know, a line's been crossed in the sand. This is they say euthanasia, but it's not. This is an assisted suicide advocacy group that has contributed to your son's death, and he wasn't terminally ill. He was 26, more than likely suffered with depression. I mean, he was a loner. He was
terminal illness or not, there's no good reason to help somebody die.
No. And so I thought they'd be knocking at the door, but no, there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so coming up to the second year, I actually rang the coroner's court and I said, why is it taking so long? They had no knowledge of it. It wasn't actually reported. It was reported by no one.
The coroner in Australia? In
Melbourne, Victoria.
Wow.
That was the first they'd heard of it.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got the ball rolling there for whatever, been an oversight somewhere. And then I did speak out. And there was an article on the front page of The Australian.
You wrote the article, or
no,
the article was written by...
No, the
So did you contact a journalist? Or?
A journalist contacted me, via a third party.
Yep.
And anyway, covered the whole story, is what I'm telling you now.
Yep.
And then Nitschke was invited to make a comment about that, I think, or his side of the story or something like that. He said words to the effect that he'd done me a favour, and that without all that medical advice, Lucas might have only taken less of a quantity and that he would have been just a vegetable somewhere. So it was much better that he knew the quantities.
So did he admit to helping Lucas?
He doesn't ever say that. He just said, no, this is, I can't remember his words exactly, but yes, we've done this woman a favour.
Tell me... What was the response to the article in the newspaper?
From whom?
Generally. Did you get any contact from anybody else? Any politicians concerned?
No, none. And so that was sort of his first comment. He then went on to say that you have to balance the fact that, people like Lucas are taking their lives against, the great comfort that it's going to bring the elderly, knowing that they can have the Nembutal in the cupboard. And so that's all evens itself out, or some sort of false logic like that. And the picture of me in the paper he used and put on his Facebook page and on Twitter, saying, what sort of mother sends her suicidal son to the other side of the world? Take responsibility yourself. Don't blame us.
So instead of dealing with the arguments, the logic, the facts of the ethical situation and the legal situation, Nitschke attempted to undermine and demean your character.
Yes, by implying I was a bad parent and I should take responsibility for it myself.
So to deflect attention off his own character and moral deficiencies, he's tried to attack you and put you down. So rather than dealing with the accuracy and truth of the message, he's decided to shoot the messenger.
Yes. And from time to time, when it reappears somewhere in the media, he'll come up with another line.
What kind of other things has he said?
So in one of them, he'd said that when another journalist asked him for his view, he said, oh, well, look, what you get with these families, with these dysfunctional families, is that they drive the person to suicide. So again, just slighting, my family, that had nothing to do with his organisation, and that that's a terrible thing, to imply that the family has caused the suicide. He doesn't know us. No. He didn't know Lucas, actually, from that point of view. So, he says things like that. He said that, Lucas had lied about his age. It does say on the website that you need to be over the age of 50 or seriously ill. But in actual fact, who made him the lawmaker? But it's written with such an air of authority, like it's been proclaimed by law, that you have to be over 50.
So he's decided arbitrarily there's a line that's right and wrong.
Apparently.
And completely failed to enforce his arbitrary line.
Yes. And I've heard him say in other places that that's really just for public acceptance, that there is no age.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
That's honest.
But when he's attacking me, he says, no, he lied about his age on an online application.
It's good that he recognises he's got a terrible product that's riddled with moral dirt, that's moral filth, and that he needs to wage a PR campaign to convince gullible, unthinking people that this is actually sunshine and bubbles.
Yes, it's all above board. We're just doing, the terminally ill a favour. Every
good propagandist in history has needed to convince people that the evil they were perpetuating was good for society.
He also said that at another time, because it keeps changing, another time he said Lucas had used a fake ID, which is interesting because they never ask for ID. They never asked Lucas for any ID, and I don't know what this fake ID would have looked like. I'd like him to produce it. What, it's a picture of an old man, is it? What is a fake ID? And then in another one, I just can't think what they are now. Yeah, he used a fake ID. Oh, that's right. On their exit newsletter, I think his wife had written an article by saying we had to ban him. Well, there was no evidence of him being banned. He was writing right up until the time that he died, I would have thought. Absolutely no evidence that he was being banned. And they said he was being very rude to our elderly, let's say customers, but they are customers, to our elderly, no, not even patients.
Users?
Members, yes, to our elderly members. So how he would have been rude to the elderly members, firstly, they're all anonymous. So you don't know how old anybody is.
Yep.
They all want the same thing. They want to end their lives.
Yep.
So why would he be rude to anybody? I read all these posts.
Yep.
They were just discussions.
And all of these completely fail to deal with the fact, the very, very, very primary fact that it's wrong, illegal, immoral to help anybody at any stage for any reason to kill themselves. It's a fundamental breach of your duty of care as a human being to look after your neighbour, to treat somebody like you'd like to be treated. And nobody in their right mind hurts themselves. It's always a sign of sickness, mental, emotional. It's not right.
Well, I think Nitschke really would look upon himself more as an entrepreneur. He has a product to sell and people are lining up to get it.
And the reality is that he's deflecting from the fact of the morality and the ethics of his profitable business with character assassination and emotional appeals, and has absolutely no evidence, facts or logic to argue with this at all.
No, and he speaks with such authority that, I don't know, do the people out there just believe him?
Yeah.
That Lucas had a fake ID, so it's all okay?
Yeah. Philip, you have the right of reply. If you think I'm missing some facts or misrepresenting your character or the arguments at all, I'd love to hear if you actually have any facts or arguments or logic at all, because I think you're a despicable person and I think what you do is despicable. So you're welcome to come on my show at your expense whenever you like, and I'd love to sit down with you for an hour and see which of us actually wins a battle of logic, evidence and facts without the emotion or the character assassination that is your entire arsenal. Look forward to seeing you. Thanks for watching. If you really enjoyed that video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Have a look at this great video next, and check out the website for even more interesting articles and episodes later.